Hi, Dr. V.
Enes.
How are you
Hello.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We live both in Missouri now, but we come to meet in Washington instead of meeting in Missouri.
I know, right?
So we're not in the headquarters.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So I have one important question. First of all, for those who do not know you, yes, you are PhD by profession, and now you are just go from there.
Wealth strategies. Hello, my name is Dr. Veronica Njoaba. Actually, I have co-residence, right? So I live in Long Island, New York, but also I live in Missouri. I'm actually not only a senior financial broker, but I'm also a wealth strategist. We deal with everything when it comes to retirement planning, tax strategies, mitigating risks when it comes to personal finance and legacy building, everything.
So I have one important question.
Okay.
And this is the problem which we have as Africans. I don't want to say immigrants because the Jews are not having this problem. Chinese don't have this problem. Indians, most of them, they don't have this one. I'm talking specifically for Africans because I have more experience because I'm African.
Yeah.
The problem is we have kids and we say kids are blessing in the sense that when I get old, they will help me, they will take care of me. Maybe I have 5 kids, one will be rich. So let's talk specifically in the context in the United States. What do I mean? That philosophy which we have in our own countries that doesn't apply here. So in the end, you find out the cycle of poverty is continuing. You are poor, your kids are going to be poor, your grandchildren are going to be poor. So we are transferring the poverty to our children, to our grandchildren, which is against the Bible.
Yeah.
Bible wants us to leave the wealth, legacy, and everything to our children. How do we end that cycle of poverty? How are we stopping transferring poverty? Now we are transferring the legacy, we're transferring the wealth to our children. And not depending on our children when we get old. How do we do that? Is it in a financial aspect?
That is a very, very heavy question, Ernest. I don't even know where to start. But you're right. You know, oftentimes as African immigrants here in the diaspora, we have a mindset thinking that whatever we practice back in Africa can work here. And that's not always the case because we are sitting in a totally different financial system, different rules and regulations, different laws, you know, when it comes to money and finance. So there are things that we definitely have to understand on how the American system works. Now, I don't know if you know, Ernest, but I read an article one time of how polygamy was back in Africa, you know, back in the days when it started, and also the idea of why it was very important to have a lot of children. So back in the days, actually, a lot of African families, they're either farmers or they raised cattle, right? So they owned farms, right? There was some kind of ownership. So definitely it was a form of legacy having more kids. You know why? Because that guy knows, hey, if I have X amount of acres to work in the farm, it's cheaper for me to have kids to work in the farm.
Yes.
So if anything happens to me, then guess what? Those kids can continue farming, and that is continued legacy. So it was actually an asset having a lot of children, and guess what? Those kids can continue legacy, but guess what? It was about ownership.
Yes.
Does that make sense? And also it saved people a lot of money. Instead of hiring somebody else to work in the farm, you have 20 kids, you have 60 kids working a farm. Ernest, you have saved a lot of money. You're number 11.
Out of 13.
Out of 13. Exactly. So that's where this whole idea came from. But guess what? Now things have changed. Because the
you don't have even an acre. You don't have it.
Exactly. So the farmer can transfer, right, that farm from himself to his kids and his kids. So whatever they were working, they were not actually, that was not employment per se, right? But rather they were working in family business. Kind of
ownership.
Exactly, those ownership. But right now, word have changed. Most of parents, they're not even doing farming, they're not doing like yard work, they're not doing like cattle, whatever. You know what they do? They do office work, corporate.
Yeah.
Most of us are employees. But you go and have 5 kids, and you are thinking those kids are supposed to help you with your retirement. That is reverse legacy. When you have children, it's because you want those kids to continue your legacy. But we're not even building anything to start with. You are building somebody's business, right? You're building somebody's hospital. You're building somebody's engineering firm, right? Yeah, we're super highly educated, and I'm speaking about my fellow Africans in the diaspora, right? But we are working day and night building for somebody else's legacy, and we expect that what? One day our kids are gonna take care of us. That's reverse.
Yeah.
Because we know clearly, Ernest, if anything happens to you at somebody's job, you cannot transfer that job to your child.
Very true.
You cannot transfer your degree to your child. You cannot transfer your licensure to practice to your child. You can't. I was talking to a lady one time and she said, hey, I have a whole CPA firm, but if anything happens to me, my child cannot be a CPA unless they go to school, get the same licensure in order to continue the business.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? Unless we are business owners with ownership, or you're running a business, you know, like what I said, right? Running a business, or rather, if you're having an investment portfolio, you can always transfer wealth to your child. You can do that. Now, the easiest way to do that from a financial perspective, that's when the $1 Million Baby portfolio comes in. You know, there's a quote, Ernest, I don't know if you know, that says, if you're sitting under a shade today because somebody planted that tree 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Ernest, did you know that if you were born in America, let's say 30 years ago, and your parent only saved, let's say, $50, right? $50 a month, that is equivalent of you today, you would have been having at least $500,000.
Wow.
So with inflation, today, if a parent has a $1 Million Baby portfolio and they qualify, right? Because you have to qualify, and they're able to save $10 a day, it's a guarantee that that child, by the time they reach retirement age, they're already a millionaire. Did we know this? Yeah, because the truth is, if you look at the numbers with compound interest, right? Because this account is compounding without market volatility, meaning the stock market can go down and you still don't lose your money because the money is invested in the equity performance of the market index. The money is not sitting in the stock market. That's what wealthy people do. If you can save $500 a month, guess what? It's a from childbirth. It's a guarantee your child has at least $250,000 by the time they're going to college. So tell me, what account do you have that can guarantee that amount of money tax-free? No, it cannot be
it will give you like a negative because of inflation. You are losing the money. Like if you save like for 18 years,
exactly,
less money you have.
Exactly. So there's so many factors to consider. Now, why are we saying this account? Because it pretty much tackles all the big financial problems that an average middle class does not think about. You said one: inflation, taxes, you know, legacy planning, retirement. We think retirement, you got to start working to think of retirement. No, wealthy people plan for that from the day their kids are born. So depending on how you set up these accounts, as long as your children are qualified, middle class, especially Africans in diaspora, we can take advantage of something like that. Because you know what? You cannot, no matter what you do, you cannot transfer your job to your child.
Yeah.
And some of the accounts we have, Ernest, like the ones they tell middle class to have, people don't even know how much money they're going to cash out. So what's the point of you putting money in a portfolio? If I ask you 20 years from today, how much money you're going to cash out, you don't know. But you're busy saving money in that
still
portfolio.
Put the money there in 401k or something.
Yeah, so something like that.
Yeah, so that is a major problem which we have and we see. And let me add something on that.
Yeah.
And if you find the immigrant is having the first child in America, by default, is thinking that because the child is born in America, is a millionaire. Doesn't know that we have to have those kind of accounts to set up a child to be a millionaire. Yes, child being born here doesn't need to have a visa because he's an American citizen, can travel, but doesn't mean that by default is successful.
Yeah.
Sometimes might have more problems than the child born in Africa because we have more stress. Of the financial stress. So thank you for pointing out like different things people to figure out. So, and the same accounts for children, I want to point out for people, also they're available for adult. But depending on how you form, or your age, and so forth and so forth. So I'm calling out majority of immigrants, whether you are a parent, whether you are not a parent, to take opportunity to have at least an hour to 2 hours free consultation to understand more about financial literacy.
Yeah.
The moment you arrive in America, you arrived in 2008, arrived 2008. Nobody told us about financial literacy. No. They told us about, have good credit score so that you can get loans.
That's true.
But those loans, they didn't tell us they are compounding on us. They didn't tell us that kind of things. But we wish someone could give us all this information and we can act on right now.
Right.
So if a person wants to talk to me, I'm also a financial professional, or Dr. V, I'm putting the link, which is ebmscholars.com/finance. You can put it there, then you can set up a meeting. You can have free consultation, understand about more in depth your situation. If you have a child, what age and what you can do, what your options, to understand it, take actions, so that at the end you pass down the wealth, not the poverty anymore.
Yes.
You mentioned one day, you gave the quotation about women, mothers, but we usually don't say about the fathers. Can you point out, because that quotation exactly I'm using part one of my book on the proverb.
Oh, yeah. So what I said is that, you know how, actually it was a big discussion I was having with a group of friends of myself just about, weeks ago. And they said, you know how everybody always talks about Proverb 31 woman, right? Oh, she was a virtuous woman. She went to work. She saved her husband. She was prayerful. She had all this amazing thing. But the Bible doesn't really talk about, people are not really quoting the Bible when it comes to Proverbs 13:22 men, right? There are a lot of instructions in there for men as well.
Yes.
So I like that quotes, right? Proverbs 13:22, it says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children. So you as a parent, what are you doing different to guarantee legacy to the next generation? And always ask people, as much as we are busy, we're working hard, or we believe that we're super educated, what are you doing different to make sure you're beating the status quo? Because sometimes we say we are busy, but busy exactly doing what? Busy making the system rich and our boss rich, or building our own legacy? What type of busy are you? A lot of people, we are not busy building our own legacy. But yeah, for those people who are Christian like myself, it's biblical. It says a good man leaves an inheritance for his kids. By the way, do you know Jay-Z said that one time in one of his rap songs? He said he has built so much money for his kids. He said it 7 times. 7 times.
Wow.
So when you look at the Rockefellers, people are talking about Rockefeller until today. That guy died a long time ago. Ernest, in the 1800s, right, when the Rockefellers started building wealth, they understood that power of legacy. They had $1 million baby accounts for all their kids. And of course, they had a Rockefeller Trust. And that's why every person in the born of the Rockefellers family is wealthy. Every bloodline. The Rockefeller went to sleep, did not wake up. You know what? The kids are multimillionaires. You, as an African in the diaspora,
game over. You
go to sleep, that's it. What is your child inheriting apart from student loans, credit cards, mortgage debt, right? People think GoFundMe is a solution. GoFundMe will just make your body go to rest. But your debt is going to be following you. And I hope you go to heaven. Because if you look down and you went to hell of how much distress you're leaving your family and your kids due to poor financial planning, I don't think if that person is going to be very happy.
Very true.
So, it's biblical for those people who are Christians like myself.
Which is this one?
Oh, stop passing down poverty to your kids. Wow. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
That book comes out in October.
Boniface Makulilo. Wow, I can't wait to read it.
This book comes in October. I don't know if people can let
Wow. That's going to be amazing. Congratulations.
Yep.
I'm so proud of you. Wow, I want to read that book. But it's true, though. It's true. People don't want to have hard conversations, but that is true, right? You cannot pass poverty to the next person. Now, the last thing also I kind of wanted to add, right? We kind of shared today at the program. And I learned this actually from one of the sermons that one of the pastors was talking about. When it comes to poverty, right? They said there's a spirit of poverty, there's a mindset of poverty, and there's action of poverty. So guess what?
Yes.
You can pray all day and night to cast the spirit of poverty, but if your mindset is still the same like how you're thinking, in Africa at the time before we left, we didn't have the resources.
Yeah.
And maybe the economy back there is not supporting certain programs, but I'm pretty sure even people in Africa, if they had the resources we have, they would want to do better financially as well.
Very true.
Because I will promise you, a lot of people are doing so much better there compared to even some of the Africans in the diaspora with the little resources they have. Why? Because they have a mindset of abundance. But it doesn't end there. Ernest, do you know, even as a parent, you can have a mindset of abundance, but if you lack knowledge and the actions towards us doing better, You'll be surprised, from generation to generation, everybody's having the same poverty issue because we are not doing anything different. So I wanted to kind of like add that. And that's why once we understand, right, you have the right knowledge of why these accounts are very powerful and why the wealthy people do something totally different from an average middle class, then we're going to do better. We're going to get the same results. Nobody's better than the other. It's just lack of knowledge and implementation.
Yeah, very, very true. I usually adding one thing. Majority of Africans, it's our dream to come to America. But the moment you arrive in America, our mind is still in Africa, but our body is in America. Until we change that, our mind also to be in America means our body in America, but our mind should adopt the systems in America.
Yeah.
You cannot think about retirement in America as if you are using Social Security Fund of East Africa. You cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot be in America, succeeding in America, while you are thinking that only employment will survive you. But remember, while you're in Africa, everybody's entrepreneur. You have a job, you have a business to run, like a small kiosk, vegetables or something. Here, there is no place, the small house, you don't have vegetables. So what you do, another job, another shift, another shift, another shift. At the age of 60, you look older than 79-year-old. You cannot survive that life. So these are the things we want people to make sure that they know and try to navigate to compete the same life like we are here in America.
That is true.
Even if you're planning to go back in Africa,
Yes.
please, for the transferring of wealth, prepare as if you're going to retire in America. Prepare as if you are transferring the wealth in the American context to American kids.
Yeah.
Because these kids are not going back to Africa. So that is something we have to pay attention to. So again, please go and fill out the form at ebmscholars.com/finance. There is 2 hours free financial education, one-on-one, either with me or with Dr. V. You can be able to learn more and make or take action. Thank you so much, Dr. V, for taking your time.
You're welcome.
Okay.